Good morning, everybody. I hope this video finds you well. Today, I am going to talk a little bit about what's going on here inside of China. This morning, as I was going through my Quora feeds, I received a request from Paul Denninger, who is I would like to call him a friend. And he posts a lot of things on the geopolitical stuff that I am personally interested in, and asked me to comment on a Steve Cho video. Now, this fellow is an American importer of Asian descent. He has excellent American English. And he's talking about how he believes that China is hiding its real pain. Well, I can't tell you about his experiences because he's not in China. I am. I'm in China. This is China. This isn't the United States, guys. And I'm in China, and I deal with factories. And I am going to tell you what's going on. As a matter of fact, right before the May Day holiday, I had to visit a couple of factories. I visited a long drain factory. Long drains are drains that are long and rectangular in shape, and a casting factory. I was doing this for a New Zealand client. People, the world's a big place. The United States only has 330 million people. Only has 330 million people. That's a small number, guys. So all this stuff about the United States being this great consumer base is partially true and greatly exaggerated. China produces to the world. Most of my customers are not American. Let that sink in. So therefore, I have a bit of a bias here. I have a very large American customer, and he has not stopped placing orders. Instead, his products are going into a free trade zone, and they're going to be held there until this tariff issue has been resolved. And these are big projects that I'm working on with him. When I mean big, they're multi-million-dollar projects, moving factories and factory equipment. So take it as you will. Though most of my experience has been in the consumer product realm, mostly electronics and appliances. Now, Paul asked me to give my opinions on this video that was put out by Mr. Cho, and I did, and I'm doing that right now, and I don't want to make this too long. Basically, a couple of points he was saying was that he showed a couple of videos within his video saying that these manufacturers are lying. They're saying half-truths, there's this, yada, 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 yada. In case you all don't know what that means, that refers to a Jerry Springer. I used to like Jerry Springer back when I lived in the States. You know, it was pretty funny. Anyways, just a bunch of bullshit. And so maybe it is, maybe it's not true. But I'll just tell you what's going on here. Trump's tariffs have caused ripples in Chinese industry, but it is not catastrophic. Okay? If you go ahead and you eat a daily meal, you'll have a breakfast and a lunch and a dinner, and that's your average routine, and you'll have a couple of snacks. Maybe buy yourself a cup of coffee. That's a normal action. This is equivalent to you saying, instead of getting the $15 Frappuccino, I will just get a regular cup of coffee. Chinese are adaptable, and Chinese have planned for this event. No. The Chinese government has planned for this event and fully expected it to happen, which is why when Trump started this, the Chinese government said, okay, the full decoupling has occurred. We're going to fully decouple, which surprised the living shit, really surprised the living shit out of Trump, because he was expecting China to play along. His ego being what it is, being bombarded by American propaganda, self-reinforcing that he is capable of no wrongs and that China is helpless and useless. Well, that's not the way it works, guys. That's just not the way it works. So China was ready for this, and they implemented everything they're doing right now. So this is planned. What about the factories? Which is what the video is all about. All right, I've got numerous factories that do supply products to the United States. I do. I work with them, and very few of them have the bulk of their products going to the United States. Most of them make an array of products that go worldwide for a worldwide customer base. See this IE? Huh? We call them garbage grannies. She's a garbage granny. She's collecting garbage for recycling. Most of the customers, most of the factories have non-American customers. Very few rely on the American customer base for the bulk of who they export to. Very few. But who are they? Well, Holmes Products, which all of you probably have a Holmes consumer appliance. After all, for the longest time, they were Walmart's #1 supplier of fans, humidifiers, clothes irons, everything. Holmes Products, but you didn't know that. And it's an American company that operates within China and has factories within China. They have one customer, well, one major customer, but all their customers are American. So get this, American consumer appliance company supplying to an American customer base, and all the money goes to American owners, but they manufacture in China. They're hurting. And their supplier base are Chinese companies. So the electric motors is made by Raider. Now Raider is a Chinese-owned company that supplies to Holmes, which supplies to Walmart. No problem, right? You understand this, right? But Raider also supplies to a bunch of other companies. So I don't know the particular product mix. Raider was certainly supplying a large numbers of electric motors to Holmes. But I'll tell you this much, because I've been at the factory in Dongguan, Tangsha actually. They had a couple of facilities in Tangsha, and while they make tons of it, they also sell around the world too. I will say, and I will put my reputation, which is actually shit, by the way. Got a lot of people who don't like to hear what I have to say. And I will say, in a broad-based discussion, that in general, Chinese manufacturers supply to the world where American products destined for the American people, such as Holmes, for the American retailer, such as Walmart, these manufacturers do not rely on one single customer. And that is true throughout the industrial supply chain. Once you get a big, juicy customer like an American customer, once you get that, you try to get other customers too, because putting all your eggs in one basket, that's an American idiom, guys, putting all your eggs in one basket is not a good strategy, and I don't recommend it. Try to diversify, and that is the case with all Chinese companies, because people, they're not stupid. Chinese people are not stupid. 中国人没有神经病. They know what they're doing. And so when you see these other reports of an American with perhaps a Chinese name or a Chinese appearance saying, well, I really doubt this, say it in China. If you're talking about China, say it in China. You're talking about the United States, say it in the United States. If you're talking about Russia, say it in Russia. Show some cred, people. I'm sick and tired. I'm going to get a little bit sidetracked here. I'm sorry about that. But people, seriously, if you're going to talk about China, do it in China. If you're going to talk about the United States, do it in the United States. Now, I left the United States, and it's been years ago. When I think of the United States, I think of what it used to be. I remember I would go, there was these burger wars going on, and Burger King had a $1 Whopper. I used to go eat those suckers. $1 Whopper, man. Now, it was more expensive normally. I think it was $1.25, but they had the $1 Whopper. I'll never forget that, because I like Whoppers. They're a pretty good basic hamburger. And now, of course, that tells you how long ago it's been. Now, I think if you want to buy a Burger King meal, it's probably going to cost you $2 or more. That's how long ago it's been. So I'm not an expert on what's going on in the United States. I see reports which generally say the world's coming to an end. Listen, I don't believe them. The United States is pretty darn adaptable. I think the people are pretty darn adaptable, and they will adapt. So all this doom and gloom stuff should be ignored. But I'll tell you one thing, is that all this doom and gloom stuff about China collapsing is just bullshit. China's not collapsing, and the United States is not going to collapse either. What's going on is an intentional disruption of supply chain because Donald Trump wants to obtain geopolitical advantage. And if you're convinced that China is collapsing and the factories are going to happen, I saw something on Hal Turner. He's reporting from the Daily Caller. Daily Caller, guys, massive propaganda arm, and he's saying that there's riots and factories are shutting down. Look, I'm here. None of my factories have shut down. None of them are talking about shutting down. However, this is in the middle of the May Day holiday, and they temporarily suspended operations so that everybody can enjoy the holiday, but it has nothing to do with Donald Trump, for God's sakes. And if you believe that, you should be ashamed of yourself. I'm just talking real, guys. I'm just trying to be as real as I can be. Which is probably why I'm not a very popular YouTuber. Nobody wants to hear the reality. The reality is, it's not as bad as people say. It's not going to be as bad as they fear. And this is true for both the United States and for China. So relax, people. Now, I can't tell you what's going on in the United States right now. The reports are scary. Years ago, when I graduated from Syracuse, my first degree is in aerospace engineering, so that was in Syracuse University, and we had Alexander Haig. He came on over. He was the head of NATO under Ronald Reagan. He came on over and delivered a speech in the Carrier Dome, which was a big thing back then. They had just built it. Looked like a big fuzzy green caterpillar. at night because it was lit up and it's lit up green. And he's over there and he's talking. And he's talking, and there's a little disturbance way over there in some bleachers. Way over there. 4 people dressed up like ghouls, pointing fingers at him. Ah! All night on the news everywhere was this massive protest going on at the Carrier Dome. People, it was just 4 in a stadium, what, 30,000, there was only 4 dressed up women, but the pictures on them were like, you know, telephotos, and you know, you could see the hair, nostrils, and the individual hairs on their bodies, you know, that's close up. A bunch of bullshit. If you believe the nonsense that's going on, that China is collapsing, you are a fool. You are an idiot. You are a fool, and you are being manipulated, because it is not. The American consumer base, at best, is, say, 300,000. We're going to assume that, or 300 million. We're going to assume that 30 million are so poor that, you know, they're not going to be producing or purchasing anything of substance. China's consumer base is 5 times larger. All Xi Jinping needs to do is say to his people, say to the Chinese, our industry is hurting. Please purchase products. And out of patriotism, everybody in China will start purchasing products. And the GDP is going to go. And the GDP right now is going up. Not because of Chinese domestic purchases, but rather simply because China has signed some new agreements with ASEAN, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. Yeah, these things are real. They're substantive. And that's what's going on. All right, I'm going to wrap this up, drink a little bit more coffee. So I'm going to summarize this right now. We're in the middle of a trade war. China has opted out. It made it very clear. And you all should pay attention to it. China expected this to occur. When Trump began it, China said fine, and just went full force and decoupled. Trump is like, whoa, 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 whoa. I expected decoupling on my terms, not on Chinese terms. Too late. And China has been very consistent. We will not talk to the United States until you remove all tariffs. If you don't believe me, read the Chinese printout. It's very clear. So all this talk, well, we're negotiating, we're doing this and that. No, we're not. Nobody's doing it. Okay? There's no negotiations. Decoupling has occurred. And nobody's freaking out about it over here in China. Actually, if there is any mood going on in China right now, it is one of defiance. #1 videos over on Douyin right now, and Xiaohongshu. #1 videos, people, are Chairman Mao speaking about how the United States is just some kind of piddly little kid, and and Chinese are not going to stand for their bullying. All right, guys, that's it for now. I'm in my housing complex, and this is China. This is my Tenzhou house in Zhongshan. Not my Zhuhai office or my Zhuhai residences. And this is the poor section. This is the poor section of China, where the working class people live. And this is what it's like. There's no riots. There's no people who are upset. There's no factories closing. And there's none of the nonsense that you hear over and over and over again in the Western media. And at that, I'll leave this be. Guys, I'm going to close. Life's too short not to make a difference. Be kind to dogs and cats. Treat other people like you wish to be treated. Just try to be the best you can possibly be, even if it's just a little bit better. And remember, I believe in you. Bye-bye.
临走时你问我哪儿去？游走在外我年家里，14月我是唐山的，村领3要我开启我的大计划，全部学一口流利的唐山话。当我拖着疲惫身体路过咖啡纪念碑，我始终坚信为主子城市阳光起飞，白费担心他们常喝着豆和水，一定能成为。
这里是唐山，坐落在河北省东部，南临渤海湾。
这里是唐山，素有北方瓷都之称，海纳百川。
这里是唐山第一台蒸汽机车、第一桶机制水泥中国平具的发源地。
这里是唐山063000。
今日我登上凤凰山，一览众山小阿姨们广场舞在跳，他问我唱的什么调，乐乐健康真心酸。白风冲云端，东方璀璨渤海湾，唐山欢迎您的来到，那无虑的开沿途的风景，百年工业城市代表我的曾经，自古燕赵之地记忆人杰地灵，我与你同行，且听着风吟。方言的说唱我用家乡话，从小都在这他看着我长大，患难与共他说孩子别害怕，百折不挠因为咱说唐山话，唐山路南路北还有5区实现，兄弟姐妹亲协力愿景实现，唐山市假比风高让远天。